Welcome to the Map Deck Till. Today I want to talk about prices. It's something that no one ever talks about, and I can understand why, because it's a really awkward subject, but I want to give it a go today. Guaranteed labour rate. They know that it's going to be expensive, but they don't want the labour rate to go above a certain amount. You see, as a team, we have just been reviewing our prices. Loads of things have happened in the news. I'm sure you're well aware of it. Prices are going up, inflation's hitting us, but also national insurance, employee, national minimum wage is going up. Our rent and rates has also gone up. All sorts of things have gone on. So we had to sit down and have a really good think about our price list and make sure that it was still fit for purpose. So we've done a massive review. We've even got like ChatGPT involved. Amazing resource just there. We've been out to lots of other businesses as well, seeing what the average daily rate is in car garages and motorcycle garages to try and really understand what is going on out there. And of course, we've done our own business plan. What do we actually need to achieve to make our business viable? So we have completely rehashed our price list, and I'm proud to say that we haven't put our prices up a penny. We are sticking with the exact same hourly rate as we have done for the last 2 years. However, what we have done is changed our service packages to be more reflective of the types of bicycles that we are seeing these days. Generally speaking, that means that the bikes we're seeing these days take us a little bit longer to actually do. And we're trying to set expectations, but also make sure that our mechanics have enough time to work to a really high standard. So this is how our price list breaks down. So first of all, we're going to add a little admin charge. One, because we want to separate this out on the bill. We've always included this, but we're going to start including this on the bill because a lot of times you're buying parts from third parties and you bring them into us to warranty. And there's lots of other situations where we might be doing an insurance write-up, lots of different reasons. And we just wanted to make sure that we're separating that out on the bill. So our minimum charge then after that for actually workshop work is £30 is the minimum charge for half an hour's worth of labour and £60 for an hour's worth of labour. Now, I can imagine the comment section right now, if you are not self-employed or run a business, you're probably going to be sitting there right now, keyboard worrying, going, oh my God, I don't earn that much. I promise you, nor does a bike mechanic. There's lots of different ways that £60 gets eroded. First of all, the VAT man takes £10 of that £60 straight off, and what's left of the £50 is there to employ all the staff, not just the mechanics. So we also have support staff and the mechanics. But also there are times in the year where we might be doing an awful lot of work, and there's times in the winter when we're not doing much work at all. So over the course of the year, that needs to balance out. And that means that our mechanics still maintain a really good livable wage, and that's really important to us. One little point to mention here, what we don't do down here is price per job. You'll see some bike shops, mostly the big mainstream multiple store type places, where they'll put a price on every little aspect. So you might see £15 to replace a bottom bracket, £10 to replace a wheel bearing. It's not something we enjoy doing down here, because quite often we find that as you're trying to access one thing, you have to remove another thing and then reset up the other thing. So if you imagine the process of changing a front disc rotor, for instance, you might then have to change the brake pads, and you might have to push the pistons back in, which then might need that the brake needs fixing as well. Okay, next up, let's talk about service packages. Now, you've probably seen loads of bike shops advertise things like level 1, 2, 3, gold, silver, bronze, platinum, all those sort of things. They have like 32-point checklists. That is not something that I've ever done down here, because it never feels right to me as you're trying to make a bike right for a customer is to only do what's inside the service package. There's always something else that you notice, something else that should be done. What I've always tried to do is make sure that when you bring a bike in, it comes back to you in a perfect rideable condition at the best possible price. So our service packages have always been, we do a bike check and tune. This is something that I'm not particularly keen on having on the price list myself, but it's something that our customers really ask for. And that is just, I'm going on holiday, I'm about to enter a race. I would really appreciate it if a professional mechanic would just cast their eyes over this and just give me some sort of reassurance I haven't missed anything, there's nothing obvious that's going to break in my big event. So we charge £50 for that service, and that is a very deep visual and touch inspection of every single aspect of the bike and a full note of anything that we find. What will happen from that, we'll either sign it off and say, yep, brilliant. As far as I can possibly tell, there's no reason for your bike to fail on your big trip or your big race. Or we'll say, look, I've noticed this, this, and this, and this. I recommend that you move on to a service package to put all those things right, ready for your big event. Into the things where we're actually doing some work onto your bike. So our first thing is just known as the full service. And we call it this because I want to make sure that when the bike leaves, you can assume that everything has been looked at, everything has been considered. In our mechanic's mind, we're pretty much going to do everything apart from bearings, although there's always some discretion here, and if we spot one bearing that's a little bit astray, we might just do that as part of the service. But generally speaking, that means that the drivetrain gets removed, completely deep cleaned, everything done, a wipe down inspection. The wipe down inspection is really important because as you're cleaning individual components, you're also looking for problems and putting them right as you go. This is a great example of a bike in for a general full service because all the bearings on it are genuinely sound and it's been looked after really well by the customer. You can see how clean they've kept the chain, but the wheels are a bit dirty, the frame's a bit dirty, and he's come in saying that his brakes aren't performing as they should. And if you look down, you can see that those brake pads are definitely worn. If I run my fingernail over here, you can feel there's a lip in the disc rotor as well. So we're gonna measure that and check it, put everything back together again, right. I can also see that there's evidence of like lots of water ingress around the headset. So a bit of preventative maintenance. We're not going to remove that. We're just going to undo it, get access to it, clean it, re-grease it, put it all back together again without disturbing the hydraulic cables. This is the sort of job that will be absolutely ideal. And as part of that visual inspection that I'm going to be doing, I've already noticed that it looked like he's had a spill off his bike. There's some big heavy scoring on the mech here. So as part of that, we're going to check this is all aligned and working perfectly. Let's get cracking. One of the important things is about a wipe down isn't so much that we're wiping the dirt off, it's also as we're wiping, we're systematically visually inspecting everything, making sure we can't see any cracks or anything that looks like it's getting really worn out. So it's just a good way of systematically going through the bike and just doing a really good check. This is a fantastic example of why the service is so important. I'm not going to go to the extra effort of removing all these brake hoses, but I can get access to all of these and give this a good clean. And I think you'll agree that with all this moisture and rust appearing, just getting in there and giving it a good clean is going to drastically improve its service life. Now, in this service, we also assume that we're going to be replacing the normal consumables. So chains, brake pads, cables, those sort of bits and pieces, the things that are very easily worn out and fairly cheap to replace, that it's just easier to just get a new one in and replace it and move on, knowing that your bike is set. For me, the worst outcome for this type of service is when your brake pads are like 60% worn, but you brought your bike in for a big service. And that means that in a few weeks' time, you then have to bring your bike back to get the brake pads replaced. For me, when you bring your bike in for a service, that is like a start of the season thing, and you leave here not having to come back for several months knowing that your bike is ready to enjoy an entire season of cycling. So expect to have those basic consumables replaced, and if there's still life in those consumables, we'll give them back to you so you can carry your brake pads as a spare or something like that. All right, onto our full rebuild services. This is the stuff that we do. This is our bread and butter. This is when we take the entire bike apart. Every single component gets taken apart, evaluated, cleaned, put back together again. We should return your bike back to you in better than new condition. It's a really satisfying service to do. And what we do at the till point here is when you sign up to that, we're essentially saying that we've got full autonomy to get everything done. And as a result, it means our mechanics can work a whole lot more efficiently. We're not trying to work around things. We can just take everything apart, get it in the parts washer, start cleaning and start replacing things as we need to, and we can work in a much more logical fashion. As such, we can make it a little bit cheaper for you if you commit to that service here at the till. Now, this is where our service prices has changed a bit. After speaking to all our mechanics and lots of other people in the industry, what we realised that we've hit that tipping point where the amount of bikes that we're seeing now with the modern type problems, such as hydraulic hoses routed through headsets, different bottom bracket standards, electronic shifting, those sort of things, we're now recognising that's more common than it used to be. So as a result, this sort of service is now taking us about 4 hours to do, whereas before it's probably a 2.5 to 3 hour job. So this standard full rebuild service is now £220. But what we are offering is if you have a classic style bike, we'll give you a £50 rebate on that. So this is a bike very typical of what we see these days. So you'll see all the cables are internal, which means that we have to cut the brake hoses to get to things, to get to the headset bearings, and also we need to bleed brakes. Whereas this is a much more classic design bicycle where all the cables are external. We can just drop the forks whenever we want. All the cables run down the down tube, very easy to work on, which means that if you have a bike like this, you'll qualify for our classic bike discount. Okay, building on from that, mountain biking is a big part of what we do here, and we often get full suspension mountain bikes that have gone through a whole winter worth of riding here in the Lake District, and they come in absolutely trashed. And what our riders want is a guaranteed labour rate. They know that it's going to be expensive, but they don't want the labour rate to go above a certain amount. So for that, we're offering a new service at £370, which represent at least a day's work. That is at least 7 hours work, and that goes every single pivot bearing, front fork, rear fork, dropper post, absolutely everything is overhauled and given back to you. These sort of services normally come back around £800 to £900, so pretty expensive, but we guarantee if you commit to that, we'll cap the labour at £370. After that, we have our essential sundries, so things like wheel building. If you come in with a wheel that just needs assembling, i.e. you've got the hubs, you've got the spokes, and you've got the rim, and you just want us to assemble it, or we've taken an old wheel apart and we just need to rebuild it, then that is £60. But quite often what we find with wheels is that we want to go the extra level. So this is a case of we do the whole wheel, we also set up the tubeless tape, then we also then mount the tyre and then retension after the tyre is mounted, set it all up tubeless for you, add a cassette, add a rotor, and then that whole service then comes in at £80. So you've got a guaranteed labour rate there for getting a completely fully set up wheel. What I haven't mentioned so far is e-bike servicing. We do e-bike servicing on all of the major brands, and we will apply an extra £60 service fee for anything related to an e-bike, and including wheel building. So if we're doing a full rebuild service and it's got an e-bike motor, there's an extra £60 for dropping the motor, cleaning all that out, doing the routine service procedure as set out by that brand, remounting everything, running through the diagnostics and updating all your firmware and doing the service documentation. Again, if we're building an e-bike wheel, there's that £60 upcharge because we'll also service that hub motor while we're there. Onto suspension, and not many shops actually do on-site servicing of their suspension here, but something that we're really proud to do, again, because we've got such a lively mountain bike scene around our area, and our riders just want to bring their fork in, get it done and get back out on the trails again, and sending it off to a service centre is just an impractical thing to do. So we have 3 packages here for our suspension, guys, and that is a full fork or a full shock service is £150. This is about in line with the prices that you'd pay at the Fox service centres, places like TF Tune, but with the convenience of coming to your local shop to get that done, and we use all the same equipment as they do. However, what we can offer here at a local shop that you probably wouldn't do at a service centre is just those quick refreshes. So drop the lowers, replace the wiper seals, that's a £70 service, and then we'll also do an even quicker service than that. So if you've been out on a really wet, filthy ride and are just scared that your forks are full of mud, we'll get them down, we'll clean everything else, and we'll just replace the foam inners for £35, giving you a really reassuring sort of service that you don't have to do the whole thing after a really wet, minging ride. And then just to finish off, a couple of other services that we offer down here. We do bike fitting down here. I'm going to cover bike fitting in a whole separate video because it's a massive subject. My own feeling on bike fitting is that it doesn't always need to take hours and hours. So we have a service at around £120, which we expect to take about an hour. And for most people, that is more than enough. If it goes beyond that, we then charge the £60 an hour beyond that, because sometimes bike fitting also involves an awful lot of mechanicking just to try and access certain components. It's a very fluid thing, but I'm really happy with how that price works out. It means that if you just need basic adjustments, you've got something at a fairly reasonable price to access. And then finally, our sports testing has changed ever so slightly, because we now recognise that people are coming back to us for the 2nd, 3rd or 4th time, and they're working with remote coaches. Some people just want the test done, so for a VO2 max test, a Moxie test, or a custom test set by a coach, we can do that. It's a simple £100 service. But if you then want one of our coaches to do a deeper analysis into that and then give you some recommendations, we do another hour, and that can actually be a video call as well. So hopefully you've got the option now of doing to just drop in, do a test that you're fairly familiar with and take that result back to your coach, or do something more engaging with our coaches down here. Before we finish up, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support is free. It really does mean the world to us, and it means that we can bring you even more great content like this for you to enjoy. Everything in this video so far is now available on our website, so you can read about it in more depth. That link's going to be down in the description below. Now, the one thing we don't do down here is really booking in. It's something that I believe that if your bike needs fixing, you should be able to come into your bike shop and just get it fixed. With modern bikes, there's so many crazy proprietary parts that the sooner we get your bike, the sooner we can get those parts on order, and the sooner we can get your bike back to you and you can get out riding. Having said that, if you are traveling a long way and you need your bike turned around on a certain time, use the contact form on our website, get in contact, we'll communicate between each other and we'll try and make sure that we've got everything ready so that we can do a same day turnaround if we do the preparation work. That's it, service prices for 2025. What do you think? Like or dislike, agree or disagree? The comments are more than welcome. And if nothing else, I really hope you appreciate our efforts in making this video for you. See you on the next one.